As always, Danielle, thank you. Good morning, folks. I want to welcome you to the Sunday worship service at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tucson. Today is June 2nd, 2024, because people watching us from afar may be tuning in a day today or tomorrow or the next week. My name is Bert Meek. I will be your worship associate this morning, if I can get those words out smoothly. The Reverend Bethany Russell Lowe is our settled minister, and you'll be hearing much more from her shortly. COVID is a reality for our lives now. We need to keep recognizing that. Although because the numbers in Pima County are low, we no longer require masks to be worn, but if anyone chooses to wear them, it's absolutely your choice. If you're not feeling well, we encourage you to do that, or even more so, watch us from home. When we began our pandemic, our congregation was extremely committed to vaccination and boosted. My hope is all of you will continue to show that care and concern for the ones that you love, and then the ones that are most vulnerable here in our congregation. For your information, we have 2 gender-specified bathrooms in the foyer, just after you've entered the front door of Holland. We also have a gender-neutral bathroom behind the AV desk, over there in the back. As we move more deeply into the spiritual components of our service, let us remember that our community strives to be as varied as the blooms of the Sonoran Desert, to welcome and honor those blooms and the variety in order that we may better reflect the wonderful diversity with which Arizona is blessed. Please know that we welcome you here today. If you rolled or you skipped or you walked to come through the door, we welcome you. Wherever you are in your spiritual journey, whatever cultural or ethnic background you identify, whomever you love, however you express your gender and identify that, anyway, please remember, truly, you are welcomed here.
And before we go further into our service, I wanted to give you a heads up about a few things that will be happening. We are going to do some community safety drills later in the service. And everybody here and online will hear from Jamili Omar later about exactly what we need from you. But I did want to let you know, if you're watching on YouTube, part of our practicing in these drills is cutting the live stream. So the live stream will cut 2 times. The first time, it will kind of be a spinning wheel, and we think if you keep your TV or browser open, we will come right back in a few minutes, under 5 minutes hopefully. After the second time we cut the live stream, that is the end of the service. Everybody else here is heading to social hour. So after the first cut, stay on with us. After the second time, that concludes our service. And before we move into this Community Safety Sunday, I wanted to let us give some appreciation to people who have been working on community safety here at UUCT. And there's a number of them, so hold your applause. The safety team has been working hard on policies and procedures. They've been working with Pastor Jamili Omar, and that team includes Barb Rica, Ken Ash, Carolyn Valdez, and Mike Horn Mitchum. We've also had some digital security support, especially this spring, from Thomas Hatfield, Alicia Clark, and Sam Meyer. And because there are so many community safety issues we are experiencing on our campus, we have formed a grant team to help us research grants that might help us fund some of the projects we're imagining. And that team includes Bill Bauman, Marie Bjork, Steve Kranak, Mary Weiss, and myself. And working closely with all these people, Margaret Garcia, the facilities team chair, and our incoming VP of Finance, Dennis McRitchie. So can we give some appreciation to all of these people who have been doing so much? Thank you all, and let us move into our call to worship. Our call to worship words are responsive, so you will read the italicized words that will be on the screen soon. And these words are called Because Our Lives Depend on It by a collection of Unitarian Universalist ministers. We envision a world where your life and safety is tied to mine. A world where language is used for wholeness and liberation. We envision a world where your liberation is linked to my liberation. We envision a world where voting will be an empowering event. We envision a world where violence will be considered reprehensible. We envision a world where creation, ingenuity, discomfort, and compassionate criticism will be welcomed. We envision a world where all are valued, loved, and respected. We envision a world where all living beings will have access to clean water, fresh food, shelter, beauty, love. We envision a world where fear will be recognized as an emotion and not as an authority. We envision a world where humans think ahead and consider impact on future generations. We envision a world where respect for the earth is as important as respect for oneself and one's community. We do these things because they matter.
Those of you who are watching us from home, if you have a candle, please get ready to light it as we all read together a very brief chalice lighting written from our Collective Liberation by the Reverend D. Van Diver. So please read with me. We light this chalice, symbol of our faith, alive in this world, name in our vision, collective liberation, and daring to remember each other into beloved community. Thank you.
Our first song this morning is one we haven't sung in a while, so we're going to start it slow and then lean into it as we go. So if you would stay seated for the first verse. It's a word. It's one of those that's fairly repetitive, has a few words that you sing multiple times, and one word will change. You'll catch it very quickly. Is that still a D? A. Please. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Now that repeats. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where, back previous slide. Look, I beloved. Where you, okay, we need to go back to the first slide of the words, please. Where you go, I will stay there, beloved. Where you lie. Section B. Now the next slide is. How about no piano? And thank you. This is part of the practice, and actually, this is very instructive for me, as you will see later in the service. Let's go to the first slide. Leave it on the first slide a second, and take a cue from me. Whoever's doing the slides, I'll give you a big old hand gesture. That happens. Here we go. So, where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. And where you lie, I will lie, beloved. Where you lie, I will lie. Where you lie, I will lie, beloved. Where you lie, I will lie. Next Next slide. And your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. Let's stand for the repeat. And your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, mine. Next slide. And where you go, I will go, children. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, children. Where you go, I will go. And where you lie, I will lie, children. Where you lie, I will lie. Where you lie, I will lie, children. Where you lie, I will lie. And your people are my people. Try a harmony if you'd like. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. That repeats again. Your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. Next slide is, where you go, I will go, ancestors. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, ancestors. This changes. Where you go, I will go. Where you lie, I will lie, ancestors. Where you lie, I will lie. Where you lie, I will lie. Here's the new one. Where you lie, I will lie. And your people are my people. Harmonize. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. Softly now. And your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. Thank you. Please be seated.
You didn't know we'd be sending you all these vocal challenges, did you, this morning? This is very interesting. Get this adjusted right. Is that better? Yeah. Now is the time in our service for our weekly ritual of joys and sorrows. Remember that all of us carry both joy and sadness inside. How we feel may not be the least bit obvious to those around us, but those feelings are very real and very present to each and every one of us. And we need time to honor those feelings. So over here we have our shared bowl that we use for joys and sorrows. In it are big rocks, and those signify the celebrations and mournings that we all have collectively. The big rocks are from our earth. They are strong, and they are more than strong enough to hold our pain, our joy, our love, and our anger. In just a minute, the bowl will also hold the smaller stones that you add individually to represent your own joys and sorrows. On a personal note, the path towards my wife's surgery has been extraordinarily difficult. Although it's had a good outcome, or hopefully it will have a good outcome, at least from the insurance standpoint, I can't help but think of all those who don't have the time and the wherewithal to push and push, for whom just get tossed aside by the insurance companies, in this country anyway. So we who live in the desert know that water is a life-sustaining and a scarce resource. Let's remember those who are walking through our desert right now without access to water. To honor them, we pour water from this jug to represent those jugs of water left by our ministry partner, No More Deaths, as a way of helping those who come into our country hopefully survive the perilous journey. Once again, No More Deaths has been under attack. Their efforts to provide food, water, and medical care are being distorted by the extremists in our country, and they're portraying that they're bringing in an army of immigrants to try to take over our country. Just horrendous. Anyway, the decorations you see on the jug are made by our children, because No More Deaths also decorates their jugs to show them that they're safe. For those of you who wish to share your joy and sorrow with us online, please go to menti.com and enter today's code. Look at that, 8217-8979. If you're here in Holland and you wish to also enter your thoughts on Menti, Brian Moon is standing and ready to help you do that if you don't want to use your own device. Also, for those of you here in person, if you have a joy or sorrow that you wish to share, in just a minute, I'll ask you to come up to the table here and place a stone in the water. For those of you who wish to remain seated during this ritual, please use it as an opportunity for quiet contemplation of your own feelings and ways to support those who come forward. Daniel. Let me see what the folks have to say on Menti. Oh. It was there. I saw it. Ha! I think it starts with, oh, even better. Thank you for singing so well on your first hymn. Oh, shucks, Brian. Oh, shucks. Going across, joy the person feels for an ironwood tree that they planted 13 years ago that is now blooming for the first time. Hold fast to hope, Steve Kraniak. I am getting married, which I hope is a joy. I wish someday to be worthy of forgiveness. I hope you find a way to do that for yourself. Deep grief on the ongoing violence in Palestine and Israel, peace, peace, peace now, something we all wish for. Thank you to the community for the positive response to my poetry. Yes, Mel. Grateful for a visit to family in Oklahoma this week. I was able to squeeze my new baby niece. Woo. Gratitude, yes, for the jurors in New York City. We know what that's about. Thank you. So grateful for the support and caring of this amazing, beautiful community. Can't argue with that. Thank you. Oh, we already did that. Sorrow, having to start over again after another substance abuse failure. Joy that I still have the chance, a day at a time. It's all you ever can do, one day at a time. 12 of our fellow citizens show the courage to uphold justice this week, 34 times. I won't repeat the 34 guilties, but you all can do that. I honor the risk that they took to tell the truth. And on this day of safety, let us acknowledge why we take risks, because it is worth it. And lastly, someone celebrating their grandson's 16th birthday. Before we finish, I place these stones in the bowl for all those joys and sorrows that go unmentioned today. May the ripples of healing and the ripples of hope spread far beyond the confines of this bowl.
I invite you to join me now in a spirit of meditation, prayer, contemplation, whatever that looks like in your body. And hear these words from Alandria Williams. E. writes, "We are worthy, not because of what we produce, but because of who we are. We are divine bodies of light and darkness. You are not worthy because of what you offer, not because of what it is was in your mind, not for the support you give others, not for what you give at all. We are worthy and whole just because. In this great turning, in this radical readjustment and realignment, we are not disposable. We are needed. We are the very people that have withstood everything, that have been thrown at us as a people, and as Maya Angelou would say, still I rise. We arise from the pain. We rise from the grief. We arise from the limits people place on us and the limits we place on ourselves. We rise to be the children and the ancestors. We rise to be our true selves in relationship to our families and communities, recognizing our liberating and whole selves, honoring them and others as we strive for abundant communities, abundant lives, abundant relationships, and abundant values and cultural manifestations. We are worthiness personified. I you and we are worthy and deserve a life where we are not always fighting for our existence. Imagine what we could create if we were not always in the struggle. Imagine what we could envision if we could just be, to just go there. So tired of always having to resist, to fight, demanding, pushing to everyone that has the courage, the power, the ability to co-create what we want and need, while rooting and what we can't lose and who we are. You are the visionary. You are the hope. You are our ancestors' dreams. No, you might not ever end up on some list somewhere, but you are on a list in someone's heart and mind. And if it's in how you move in the world so people can see by example, you are the embodiment of what we need. Thanks to all that are the embodiment. The embodiment not of productivity, but the embodiment of radical love, care, and sanctuary. It's time. Embodiment time. Living one's values out loud. Let me every day live my values out loud, and let us every day live our values out loud. Embodying our values, not the productivity quotient, beyond productivity, past productivity, true embodiment, life.
Please respond in song. We'll sing this song twice. The words suggest we're singing this to someone, and I hope that you envision someone to sing it to. But please, on one of the verses, sing it to yourself as well. How could anyone, Libby Roderick,
You're singing well this morning. Our reading today comes from the book Defund Fear. It was a UUA, Unitarian Universalist Association common read a few years ago by Zach Norris, who's a lawyer. And I chose this before those 12 people in New York made their decision this week, so just keep it in mind. If there's no such thing as a bad guy out there somewhere, then it's clear why our fear-based systems of dehumanization is failing to keep us safe. We can't get to lasting safety by insulating ourselves from mythical external threats with broader walls. We can't get to real safety by expelling or confining certain kinds of people, like the mythical super predator. The paradox of proximity means that the real threats are not coming from, quote, a few bad apples. They are coming simultaneously from the powerful, massive institutions that we all have a hand in upholding, and they come from within our own communities and families. We can't run from ourselves. The answer to safety is always closer rather than further away. Only together can we create safety. And he continues, in order to be truly safe, we are going to have to transcend the mythical divisions of us versus them. We will have to bridge the divides and build relationships. There is no them. There's only we. And that we, the fabric of American society, is always evolving and expanding. Rather than hold on to a fixed notion of who we the people are, we have to embrace what John Powell calls a bigger we. That ends our reading. In 2005, the Westboro Baptist Church visited my hometown. A parent had bought a children's book called Who's in a Family for their kindergartner's classroom. And this book featured heterosexual couples and queer couples and was read in their children's kindergarten public classroom. A handful of parents in that school complained, and because those parents had a good bit of power, it became a national news story. So the Westboro Baptist Church, which is defined as an anti-LGBTQ hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center, announced their intentions to picket in my town. This group gets most of its funding, as some of you know, from winning court cases when entities attempt to limit or silence their free speech and other civil claims. So hearing that they were coming to town, the parents and the children and the teenagers of my town organized ourselves. And we did what had been done many times before in response to the Westboro Baptist Church's hateful picketing. We organized a wall of silence. We stood shoulder to shoulder with our backs to the group, blocking the view of their signs from anyone driving or walking by. It's a practice, some of you know, that the Westboro Baptist Church started when they were picketing Matthew Shepard's funeral. There was a wall of silence made up of people wearing wide and tall white angel wings that blocked their picketing from people who were going to mourn Matthew's death that day. Flash forward more than a decade to the Black Lives Matter protests of 2020 following the murder of George Floyd by a Minneapolis police officer. In the midst of that national upheaval, I myself began to learn a new phrase: community safety. This phrase came alongside calls to defund and demilitarize the police. Community safety was the frequent answer to replace the militarized police structures that put many lives in danger. Very simply, perhaps too simply, community safety is the idea that we keep each other safe. It is a framework that shifts our minds away from policing and incarceration systems, which continue to be influenced by their racist roots, and to shift our minds towards ways that we can actually take care of each other's real needs. Community safety is restorative justice practices and other alternatives to incarceration. Community safety is well-funded and accessible health care, including mental health care. Community safety is needle exchanges and the right to housing. Community safety is access to healthy and clean food. Community safety is integrating small d democratic processes into our everyday lives. Community safety is anything we do to take care of each other. Community safety is also what my community did, as many others have, when that Westboro Baptist Church came to my hometown. And when I first learned about it, the concept of community safety felt familiar, but I knew I hadn't heard that term before. It felt like I had a lot to learn. It was a pretty broad concept, and there were a lot of pieces to fit together. But something about the essence of the framework was already known in my body. And eventually I realized that church had taught me about community safety. I can think of so many ways we already do this. I think of the children who arrive hungry here on Sunday mornings, who find their way to the kitchen before social hour starts, and they take some food from one of the trays, and no one says anything, because we all know the food is for everyone. This is community safety. I think about our monthly egg collection for Casa Maria Soup Kitchen, how that evolved from one person, Sue Watts, asking, how can we help? And then following through. And you here have boiled dozens and dozens and dozens of eggs for unhoused people who visit Casa Maria. This is community safety. I think about this past Tuesday and every last Tuesday of the month in 2024, when Mary, our administrator, and Carolyn Valdez, who volunteers on Tuesday, distribute grocery gift cards to community members who are houseless or housing insecure. These gift cards were funded by your donations to the Minister's Discretionary Fund. And this past week, you helped more than 20 families put some food on their table. This is community safety. Some ways we do community safety are less tangible. I think about how hard the safety team worked before and after the harassment from right-wing folks online this spring to develop procedures to keep all of our bodies safe on Sunday mornings and throughout the week. This is community safety. I think about those moments when that person has a bad day and lashes out, and instead of telling them to get out, our first impulse is to sit beside them, to help them get grounded, and then eventually to ask them what they need to do to make things right. This is community safety. I think about, too, how a few years ago we navigated a destructive behavior situation surrounding a previous board president's behavior towards women in this congregation. How we listened to the women who've been impacted, and we listened to him. And although it was ultimately recommended that we remove him from membership, we included everyone who was impacted in that process. And then we included all of you by sharing our decision. This is community safety. To be very clear, we do not always use a framework of community safety. No church does. We are not perfect. We are still entangled in that militarized world after all. But here we practice and try to counteract the impulses that militarized society has given us. Here we practice embodying the truth that we take care of each other. We will practice community safety 2 times later in the service. We are practicing taking care of each other by protecting our psychological energies and our physical bodies, and Jamili will tell you more in a second about that. But before we practice, I want to dig into the framework of community safety and see how it interacts with our theology. As you've heard in the words for this service, Unitarian Universalism teaches us that everyone has inherent worth and dignity. We say that all are welcome just as you are. And if we really believe these things, then all people deserve the same community safety. And when we say all, we do mean all. Fannie Lou Hamer said, nobody's free until everybody's free. And by free, she meant free from oppression and free from isolation, free from incarceration and policing systems, free from all that binds us. And when she said everybody, she meant everybody. Nobody's free until everybody's free. Yes, even her and even him and even them. Yes, even that person who was found guilty on all 44 counts by a jury of his peers this week. I know that we have many good reasons to celebrate that moment. It confirmed this hope that we have that no one is above the law, among other hopes we had and have. But can we really call that justice? Can any system which uses the punishment of incarceration or being stripped of voting rights be true and real justice? I know that some of you will come to me in social hour and say, yes, it is, that was justice. And I get why you feel that way. I really, really do. And I believe that our values call us to consider justice a little differently. Author and social justice activist Sonia Renee Taylor says, riffing on a phrase by Dr. Cornel West you might have heard, she says, if love is what justice looks like in public, then love cannot only be for the victim. And by all, she meant all. In order to seek out love and justice for all, she says, we have to personally dismantle the cop inside of us, the system inside of us, the part that hurts ourselves. Justice is love, and love is community safety, not punishment. Love is restoration of relationship, not incarceration. It's an aspiration for sure, but our values call us to aspirational things. Community leader and lawyer Zach Norris said in our reading, "We can't get to real safety by expelling or confining certain kinds of people. In order to truly be safe, we are going to have to transcend the mythical divisions of us versus them. We will have to bridge the divides and build relationships. There is no them, there's only we." A framework of community safety puts the responsibility for safety and community and justice in our hands. We create safety for each other. We create justice for each other. Community safety still feels big to me. It is. And like most things that are big, it can start really small. It can start here at church today and all days when we promise to take care of each other and reach towards each other when we are in need or when someone is in need of us. So I invite you to look around if you're willing. Look at your closest neighbor and also at the neighbors who are a little further away from you. And if you notice someone's presence near you or you catch their eyes, I invite you to mouth, "I got you. I got you. I got you." As we move towards practicing some of these I got yous, I want to read you a poem I found from labor organizer and songwriter Utah Phillips. He wrote, "Everyone needs a place to live in and good food to eat that's not too expensive, and clean clothes with no holes or patches, a doctor to call, an old friend to visit. A way to get places, parties and music, a street to walk safely, and benches to sit on with shade in the summer, and warm, friendly places to be in the winter, some work to do that's useful to others and doesn't get boring. People to come to for all kinds of answers, and somebody checking so nobody's forgotten. Money to spend that's given and taken without feeling guilty. Love without pity, pride without anger. Everybody knows what everybody needs, but programs, laws, city councils, commissions, agency, bureaus can't give it to us. All of us need the best in each other, and if we can find it, and if we can give it, the rest will soon follow. If we all stick together, we'll get what we need. May we make it so together.
So this is the part in the service where I give you some plot spoilers. Plot spoilers are where you know what's going to happen later on before it comes. So if you don't like those, tune out. You'll be surprised when these things happen. If you do like plot spoilers, here's where we're at. Very soon in this service, we're going to experience a disruptor. Now, this is a person who's intent not on harm, but on silencing our voices. It's not violent. He actually won't be even saying anything that would be directly in violation of our values, but their goal is for us to be silent, to be so afraid we don't speak. And statistically, these are people who do not bring physical violence into our space, but disruption of our services, so we don't feel safe in our buildings. Then, at the end of the service, instead of a postlude, we're going to practice quietly and calmly evacuating our building. So there's something in our building we need to leave in an orderly way. Today, we're going to head to Goddard, or it's the end of the service. If you're ready to go to brunch, go to brunch. This is a drill. If it was not a drill, we would evacuate to our parking lots, and we'll practice that later in the year when the weather is more accommodating, as it is not pleasant today. And one last thing, if you have children in the nursery, they will stay in the nursery blissfully unaware of our drills over here. We will practice with them at a later date. Okay, plot spoilers are over. Everybody tune back in. Here's what we need to do when we have these situations. First, we will care for each other, as Reverend Bethany has already said today. In a minute, I'm going to invite you to notice the person next to you. On your right and on your left, make sure you know their name, how they like to be called, what they might need from you in order to get out of this building safely. We have people who might need some physical assistance. We have people who might need to be calmed down because this is a scary thing to do. So go, talk to your neighbor. I'm going to give you a quick minute. So now you know who's sitting next to you, you know your neighbors, you know what help they might need in these two situations, and we will take care of each other. Second, we will protect each other. In a disruptor situation, which is the first one coming, this will mean following the lead, the worship leader, the worship associate, or Brian when he's at the mic. And because we are practicing a disruptor, our practice is to stop the live stream. So if you're there with us on YouTube, as you already heard, you will see nothing for a while. But then we'll be back, hopefully within 5 minutes. Finally, during the evacuation, we will listen for instructions, and then quietly and calmly, we'll help each other physically move to Goddard Hall. Good? Okay. There's a couple surprises, so hold with us.
So we will continue with the service as if you haven't heard what you just heard. So kind of contain your excitement and anticipation, because it's time for us to move into the opportunity to make an offering to our church. Please remember, I know it's exciting, just a few more minutes. Our congregation depends upon you for your love, your time, your efforts, and your financial support. For those of you here in person, the ushers will soon be passing around collection baskets. Those of you watching us online, you can send a check to our church office. You can give online at UUCT-Tucson/donate, or you can text the number. It'll be up there. Well, anyway, make a note. You can text 833-361-5796. So please, let us give freely and generously an offering that will help sustain and strengthen our religious community. It's a community of hope, of memory, of faith, and of love, because we are the keepers of the flame. Danielle. So what I usually read at this point is that you all will be invited for social hour at the end of our service. You may get there before the end of our service. When you do, we'll be over there in Goddard, right through those double doors and across the patio. There's lemonade, there's coffee, there's snacks. The food is free, but we always appreciate any contributions that you all want to make. Also in Goddard is our Welcome Center. Just as you go through the doors on the left, that's for anyone who's new to UUCT. You'll find friendly people who are willing to help explain more what our beliefs are. There's a guest information card which you can fill out if you want to keep in touch with us. Those of you who are online, you go to our webpage at uuctucson.org, click on Welcome, boom, and there's the information you can connect with us how to do that. Jamili has a story, a video, even not as good, but almost as good.
God's Hat by Christopher Buse, based on a legend from the African continent that he heard third hand. Any resemblance to actual persons living or dead or actual events is purely coincidental. Once upon a time, there was a village with a road that went right down the middle. One day, something strange happened. God walked down the road, and she was beautiful. They wore a long, flowing robe, and on top of their head was a wonderful hat. All the people stopped to stare at God as she walked by, and they kept staring until she disappeared into the distance. Boy, God was sure beautiful, said one person, and what a beautiful blue hat she had on. Yes, God was beautiful, said another person from the other side of the street, but it wasn't a blue hat they were wearing, it was a red hat. You are wrong, said the first person. It was definitely a blue hat. No, you are wrong. It was definitely a red hat. As the two argued, others joined in the dispute. Soon the whole village was arguing. All the people on one side of the road were certain that God was wearing a blue hat. All the people on the other side of the road were certain that God was wearing a red hat. People got mad and started screaming at each other. Finally, people got so angry that they decided to build a wall that went straight down the center of the town. From that point on, the people on one side of the wall were enemies with the people who lived on the other side of the wall, and they never spoke to each other. On On one side of the wall, the people built a church where they worshiped a god that wore a blue hat. On the other side of the wall, the people built a church.
Someone is disrupting our service. Evie, will you cut the live stream? And Brian, can you join us in song?